Welcome to White Shores, the podcast for spiritual beings having a human experience. Let me invite you to walk once more beside me on white shores to talk about the real meaning of life and the true power of what is unseen. Let's discuss dreams, intuition, manifesting, as above, so below, angels, afterlife, the science of consciousness, and other infinite possibilities within and all around you. I hope every episode informs, inspires, and illuminates. So, now the scene is set. Allow the grey rain curtain of this world to roll back and all to turn to silver glass. Let's walk barefoot together on the gentle, glistening sands of white shores to see what mystery lies beyond the material. Thank you for arriving safely on white shores, a far green country under a swift sun rays. My guest today is Australia's most trusted and sought after psychic medium and host of the hugely popular Turns Out She's Psychic podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled she's here today, walking beside me on White Shores today, because this is actually our second attempt at recording. Her vibrations were so high last time that she kept cutting out our connection, because obviously she's in Australia and I'm here in the UK, so it's a big connection. But she said it happens to her a lot as well, and a lot of highly sensitive psychic people. I'm sure that you'll be familiar with this impact you have on technology. So I'm praying to the universe today, because when I did speak to her, she was so knowledgeable, so wise, so endearing and profound. I want to share that with you. So please, universe, please give us at least half an hour of a clear connection. Tracy, I'm counting on you here. Hello.
Goodness me, that was thank you, Theresa. Yeah, I was so embarrassed.
Sorry, I've warned people if it's like cuts out and we have to restart, I'm going to re-warn you that sometimes this happens with Tracy, and she said it happens quite a lot.
It does. It's kind of like just the bane of my existence. And for people who know me well and follow the podcast, they would know that technical issues and my vibration tend to just not go well together. And I get so embarrassed when it's someone new, and I couldn't believe it was you that it was happening with. And I got off the call and I just thought, oh no.
Oh, but no, honestly, it was just a wonderful connection we had anyway, and I knew I wanted to. This is our second attempt, people listening, so bear with us. I mean, it's going to happen. But actually, I do know some people, and indeed my son, he's like that. Often when he picks up a phone, things go wrong, or when he comes in a room, the television flickers. Is this a real thing that some people have this? I mean, you obviously do. How do you deal with it?
Yeah. Well, you kind of just take as it comes. There's things that I do to lower my vibration, because, as a psychic medium, and a professional one, there are two parts to what I do. One of them is my consciousness. So I raise that to be able to do what I do, and I evolve that and I expand it. But then the other part is the human vibrational frequency. And so, being a natural born psychic medium, I naturally have a high vibrational frequency as a human, but then I do things obviously to be able to maintain an even higher one, to be able to do it on call and on demand for my clients. And because I was so excited and so thrilled to be on White Shores with Theresa Cheung, I think my vibration was just like flying through the roof. And I think all my spirit guides with me, and I think the whole team was here to join in. And I think we kind of just blew everything up.
I was excited as well, so I think our combined thing just
Probably.
topped it. I'm glad you mentioned that you're born with these abilities, because that was one question I was going to ask you: are these abilities born or made? So you've kind of answered that question, but can you please tell us your story and how you first knew that you had this vibration, this psychic vibration, and how you learned to not harness it, that's the wrong word, but maybe just tap into it and use it to improve your life, and obviously what you're doing now to help others.
Sure. And I mean, it's an incredibly long story, so I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. But
Oh, take your time.
so when I was young, I don't actually now, like I'm 40, I don't actually remember a time when I couldn't, if there was ever a time as a human in this experience, whether I couldn't do what I do. But I think that when I look back and I'm able to see my young childhood years, I used to do some pretty strange things and never really understood why I was getting into trouble for it, why I was, not, it wasn't as obvious to everybody else as things were to me, because it wasn't just me, it was these guys too. Hey, it's not just me. Like, what about them? Why aren't they getting into trouble? And it was a strange kind of, when they say like when a child is born with hearing issues or sight issues that aren't full, deaf or visibility, that the child's unable to communicate that they're having trouble seeing and hearing because they don't know any different. And it's not until they go to school and they're starting to do tests that other people can pick up on these classic symptoms of a child not being able to see properly or hear properly, and therefore they get tested and then they're diagnosed. So it's kind of like that with with my experience. I didn't know that I was different. I didn't know that what I was experiencing, that everybody else around me wasn't experiencing that. And I think the earliest kind of real cognition of that was in mid high school over here. So I was about the age of 15, and I went to a girls' school, and I noticed that no one cared about me. I was going through a whole heap of stuff personally, and I'd go to school and no one seemed to care. Yet everyone cared about everyone else, and I cared about everyone else. I knew how to help people. I would, be just drawn to what people needed and to talk to them and to help them. But no one was doing it for me. And then I started to get a little bit more analytical about it and more into my left brain of it, I guess, and started to think, hang on a minute, there are actually other things that I'm noticing too that other people aren't talking about or aren't experiencing. And it was at that moment that I realized that the information that I knew about people was psychically received. It was given to me through my psychic abilities and my intuition, as opposed to them telling me, which was obvious because they weren't telling me. But I didn't know that other people wouldn't be able to understand the same information about me if I didn't tell them. So it felt lonely and I felt very misunderstood. And as the next couple of years progressed, I was able to realize that, hey, this is a thing. And I started to dabble in, witchcraft, but the white witch, the paganism. And I went down that typical teenage route of self discovery and thinking, well, I must be a witch if I've got psychic abilities. So I read every witch book under the sun, and then I went and just did the whole 18-year-old over here, you're allowed to drink and go to clubs at that stage. So I went and did all of that and did the normal things. And then I fell pregnant when I was 23. And Theresa, it was like someone turned the lights off and the music down and the volume down. Everything turned off. And it was the
Really?
first, yeah, it was the first time that I'd realized how loud and how bright and vibrant and charged my experience in this human experience is. And for my entire first pregnancy, there was nothing,
That's
dead
interesting because you'd think
silence.
it the opposite because you're growing new life and,
Hmm.
maybe it's just because you need to rest and the psychic work you are doing, obviously it's quite can be quite draining, I would think sometimes, so you needed I don't know, I'm trying to work out why that would be. I wonder if there have been studies on
Me
psychic
either,
abilities in
because
pregnancy.
yeah, well, my other two pregnancies afterwards were the complete opposite. So I'm not
Ah,
sure about that first one. However, I do have some theories, which is going to go off on a tangent, but very quickly, I really do feel, especially after doing some past life work and then some ancestral work, that this is the first human experience that I have had where I have been a mother.
yeah.
And so I'm wondering whether there is a correlation between that and that. But I don't know. That's a whole nother podcast episode, I think. But it was definitely a very um, it's a very strong standout moment of me being a psychic medium and a born one, where I panicked and I thought, I'm not sure I'm going to know how to function if this stuff doesn't come back. Like, what if this is the way life goes right now? And I can't believe this is how everybody else lives. Like, how are they functioning? How do they even know who they are without this intuitive intelligence and this intuitive team? Um, and so that literally the day that my first son was born, it all came back. And it was just like, oh, the sigh of relief that I had. Everyone was thinking that I was dealing with, the adrenaline and the endorphins that happen when you first have a baby. And I let everyone think that. But I think the biggest part of the adrenaline and the endorphins was that my abilities were back and I felt like myself again. Um, and so I then went on a little bit more of a more mature and I guess adult way of looking at things. And I started to engage with a mentor for the first time, who is a professional psychic medium over here in Australia and is very well known. And then I had another child. And when that child was born, he was a twin and we lost his twin in utero. And then when he was born dead. And they actually brought him to life
Oh,
outside the womb. And when they put him on my chest, I didn't know he was alive. I still thought that he was dead. And they put him on my chest. And then all of a sudden, I just felt this tiny little suckle. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's alive. And then I heard a voice from spirit say very clearly, he's here to do great things. And I just took a deep breath and I thought, "Ooh, I'm in for a ride," because I think he's probably going to be like me. And so much of the experience during pregnancy and his conception and his birth made so much sense as soon as I heard that voice. And I finally relaxed into thinking, okay, maybe all of this has been about him, not me. Maybe it's just that I'm the mother that's here to prepare him for his greatness in life. So fast forward a couple of years and he's sitting there eating his Vegemite sandwich, watching the Wiggles, and he's three and he's just watching the Wiggles and I'm sitting behind him on the couch just flicking through my phone, and he just casually takes a bite of his Vegemite sandwich and goes, Mum, did you know there's such thing as ghosts? And I
wow,
literally
I love this. I
I
love this. I
know.
wrote a book actually, Angel Babies, once about all these. I'd love to do an episode actually about psychic children and things. Oh, how
Yeah, do it.
wonderful!
Do it. Because
How,
I literally
how
picked up I picked up my phone and I rang my husband and I said, "You're not going to like what I've got to tell you, but we've got another one in the family." And he's like, "Oh my god, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?" Um
oh, have fun. That's what you're going to do. It's fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
And so we went on this journey then of making sure that he was okay. And my husband needed to, like, he doesn't have a psychic bone in his big toe. Like, he really wants to, but he just doesn't. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. And to be my husband is no easy feat, but he's very open minded, and he's very accepting. And so I ramped everything up with my mentor and I really learned how to protect my energy. I learned how to turn it off and on because I didn't even know that I could do that apart from being pregnant. And I felt like that was a bit of an anomaly in the whole situation as opposed to something that I actually had a choice to do. So I'd been walking around for 27 years open the entire time, and I was
mm,
experiencing things where I was living in a reality that didn't exist to everybody else. So I
mhm,
for a lot of my life, I remember walking into shopping centers, like big complexes, and always feeling like I was being stared at. Like I would walk past people and it was like everyone would lock eyes with me in that awkward lock eyes kind of catch someone's eye and it's a complete stranger and you quickly look away, but they wouldn't look away. And it wasn't until my mentor explained to me, actually, that happens quite a lot. And they're not humans, they're spirits. And that's why it's because they know you can see
Whoa.
them.
Wow, this is
Yeah.
fascinating. And that feeling of being stared at, actually, I'm sure a lot of people will have had that at some point in their life. But when it's spirit people you're seeing as well, incredible. So, when did you decide that you were going to do something with these psychic gifts? Obviously, it must have been absolutely mind blowing knowing you've had them. When did you decide I'm going to do what you do now, which is the podcasting
Mhm.
and the helping and the talking and showing people? I guess what you're showing people is also that they have that ability in them as well, and not to fear it.
Yeah. So
What was the moment
when
when
I
you decided I've got to do something with this? This has happened for a reason.
Well, that wasn't something that I consciously chose. It kind of chose it for me. So, because I had stayed open for so long, I'd already showed signs of getting sick, and my energy had started to be had become really, really weak, and I got really sick, and I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And this was going back just after my daughter was born, so 8 years ago. And fast forward 4 months after that diagnosis, it ended up being a misdiagnosis. And what actually was happening was I was completely void of all iron stores and B vitamin. And so those symptoms mimic MS, but I was about a month and a half out of complete organ failure and heart failure. So we caught it in time, and it was a very quick recovery. It's a series of iron infusions, and then I was back. But what it did for me was make me
Do you know
realize
this?
that
I think
my
there's
connection with
studies
spirit
actually.
was very strong.
Sorry to jump in. It's just
That's
that
okay.
I think there are studies actually at Windbridge about iron deficiency, B vitamin deficiency, immunodeficiencies as being a kind of a trait of people who have advanced psychic and mediumistic gifts. That's really interesting that you're mentioning this, because there are lots of research now trying to find similar traits,
Yeah.
to understand it. So that's very interesting. Why the iron deficiency, the anemia? That seems to be quite common too. Interesting. Sorry, I was
It
just
is.
thinking out loud there. And also, you're doing it again because I'm letting it happen. But people listening, they will hear sometimes like a moment of silence, and then Tracy comes back. But luckily, the sense is all there. So she's doing it again with her vibrations.
I'm
But
sorry.
carry on. Just no, no, just carry on. Just be you. Do you?
So, so what I'd worked out was that obviously my connection with spirit was very strong, and that was something that I was well into being able to understand and manage and bring some kind of sense of form and framework to it. And I also knew that my mental health was starting to improve as well, because I was starting to understand my spirituality much better. But what I was hyper aware of at that point was that my physical body was failing the whole situation. It's kind of like, if I was sent here to do something, then my physical body is not coming to the party, and I better do something about that. And there's lots of reasons why it wasn't, including things like sexual abuse and alcoholism and drug addiction over my years. So there were many reasons why I had detached from my physical body and kind of ignored it and let it, wither away. But I went on a mission to basically connect with my physical body, and my husband is an ex natural bodybuilder. So I decided that I would join a natural bodybuilding competition, knowing that I wasn't going to go to win a trophy. What I was doing was a journey to find myself and to make friends with my body. And so, fast forward 12 weeks later, I'm on stage. I ended up getting second place. I'm getting up off stage. And I hear that voice again, that same voice from when Luca was born. And that voice says, "It's go time." And I didn't really understand what it meant. I thought it might have been referencing some kind of action that I'd just taken in a green, like string triangle bikini and 6-inch stripper stilettos and primped hair and makeup, which is not me in general day to day life. And but it wasn't. And the location that I was at was an hour away from where I live. And by the time I had gotten home in that hour, something came over me. And this was not something that I thought about. This was not something that I'd consciously decided to do. Something came over me. I Googled a picture of the Northern Lights because it's my favorite like bucket list place to go. And then I put some text over the top of it and I said, "Tracy Dimmick, professional psychic medium, now taking bookings." And I posted it to Facebook, my private page. That was in 2017. And I'm a visual merchandiser by trade. loved my job, had a great job, earned lots of money doing it, and was very good at it. And I had no reason and no intention to ever stop doing it. And that day changed everything. So I got my first booking a week later. And then I got 2 bookings a week. Then I got 3 bookings a week. Then I got 4 bookings a week. And now I read anywhere up to 20 people a week. I coach all over the world. I mentor all over the world. I've written the book. It's just become what I know I am here to do. And it's never really been something that I chose to do. It's something that I know I'm here to do. And I'm trying to be the greatest expression of that. And I'm trying to do it with spirited determination. And I'm trying to teach, and I'm trying to normalize, and I'm trying to raise consciousness. And I know I'm not the only one, but I'm damned if I don't do what I'm here to do. And so I'm going to just keep going until I feel like they're saying, you've done what you're here to do, see you later, off you go.
Oh, you are a breath of fresh air. This is music to my ears, what I'm hearing. It's absolutely wonderful. And thank you for being on this path and doing what you're doing. And I'm so glad, this is why sometimes social media can be so helpful that you did that in 2017. But obviously, a lot of people post on social media saying they're psychics or healers or mediums, but not all of them would get a reaction. So something about your vibration attracted people to that and set you on this course of that. I'm absolutely sure. But if people come to you for a reading, I'm always very curious about that, because a lot of people think I am actually a psychic or a medium. I'm not. I'm fascinated by it, and I think I'm highly intuitive, but I don't have clients. So if someone comes to you for a reading, I assume it's done via Zoom these days now.
Yeah.
What happens? What can they expect? Do you ask them to come with a question? How does it happen? And could you
No.
also in that, sorry, lots of questions. Could you in that just explain the difference between a psychic and a medium? Now you are greedy, you're both, but could you explain the difference?
Yeah. Okay. So, the difference between a psychic and a psychic medium is that a psychic has one or all of the psychic abilities that exist within the language of intuition. So, intuition is a language that the spiritual realm speaks, and the psychic abilities are the dialects, is how I like to explain it. So, as a psychic, you can be really fluent in one of those dialects, or you can be fluent in all of them. I happen to be fluent in all of them. And then a medium is someone who can use those psychic abilities and that intuition language to be able to communicate with people who have passed over into the afterlife. The difference between what makes someone able to be a psychic and able to be a medium opposed from a psychic is 2 reasons, which I'm going to go back to what I said before, in terms of there's the 2 parts to the whole thing, which is the consciousness and then the frequency, the human frequency. So a medium would usually be someone who has a soul, their soul would generally have a higher level of conscious evolution within itself. So the spirit the spiritual being having the human experience right now is going to come down to earth with a slightly more evolved level of consciousness. And then also, with an evolved level of consciousness usually comes the ability to be able to raise your vibrational frequency. And over time, as your soul evolves, the frequency of it evolves too. And I'm sure I'm telling you things that you already know, but as your consciousness expands, your frequency rises. And when you come down and have your human experience, you're naturally with that higher frequency as well. So a medium is someone who is able to really access those much higher levels of functioning, I guess. So that's the difference between a psychic and a psychic medium. Does that make sense?
Hello? Hello,
Hello?
Tracy? Tracy, sorry, cut
I'm
out again.
here.
Yeah, that answers my question greatly. But if people came for a reading now, can you tell me how? Just talk me
Yes.
through that process and how would they would do
Sure.
it and how it happens. And
Yep. So I'm an entirely cold reader, unless, of course, you're a repeat client, which has
that
just
doesn't
been the
mean
story
she's
of my life.
cold-hearted, everyone. That means she doesn't use it. Because sometimes people don't know these terms. It doesn't mean she's
True.
cold and horrible and she's going to tell you to sort yourself out. She's lovely. She won't do
Yeah.
that. So
Well, you'd be surprised. It depends. If Spirit's telling me to tell you that, then I will.
great, great. Sorry,
Um,
I'm being
no, that's
lighthearted
okay.
here.
I'm exactly the same. It's all good. So, I am a cold reader, which means that I actually prefer to know absolutely nothing about the person that I'm sitting with. Um, I don't need to know. I never have needed to know. So I feel like if I was to start asking for things from people, then I feel like it's not doing it the way that I do it, and I wouldn't want to interfere with the way that I do it. And so, first of all, what happens is before I start a session, I will shuffle my deck of cards that I've had forever, and it's sort of like an extension of me. But I shuffle it and I ask the card to come to the front that's going to give me an idea of the person's energy that I'm stepping into. I wait for that card to come through, and immediately with that, it's like my gateway into their energy before I've even seen them, before I've met them, before I know what they look like, before I know anything about them and can bring any kind of bias or human judgment. But then what I will say very quickly is a script in. So my script in is guides of the highest truth and compassion. Please work through me and with me so that I can serve Theresa for her highest good right here, right now. And
Oh,
that
thank you.
is Tracy. Yeah, so that is Tracy, and I'm going to speak about myself in the third person for a second. Not that I normally do that, but that's me leaving me, and Tracy's safe. She's fine. She's grounded. She's fine. But I step into that altered level of consciousness where I'm not Tracy anymore. I'm the spiritual part, and we like to call her Tracy Stacy, which is another long story, but she's got a name, Tracy Stacy. And so I step into Tracy Stacy, and then I bring the client in and I will show them the card and I will say, is this your energy? Have I got you? I sort of elaborate a little bit more on what the card's talking about and what might be coming through. And then I ask them what they want from me. Why are they here for this hour? What is it that I can do to serve them? How can I best serve them right here, right now? And they'll let me know whether they want to speak to people that have crossed over, whether they want guidance about their present situation or the future. And at that point, I just let them know very quickly that I'm going to start using the term they. When I refer to they, I'm referring to your spirit guides. These are the highest part of your conscious soul. So I tap into the highest part of your awareness of self. And that is where I find all the information that I get. I am always getting the information from them that I'm about to share with you, unless I state otherwise. And the other ways that I receive that information is by your loved ones in spirit that have crossed over. And when they enter, I will let you know when they are here. I like to take people very quickly through the process of how that works for me. So I always just sense them arriving, and they always arrive on my right side behind my shoulder, so I can't see them, but I feel the energy enter. My left side is blocked off for any entry. So if any spirit does come through my left side, then I know that that's a walk in. I call it a walk in. So it's not someone connected to the person that I'm reading for. It's just someone who's seen that my light is on and can come in. But left side stays shut. They come through my right side. I know that they're there, and I'll just say, look, I have spirits here. I can usually tell whether there's one, two, three, or however many there are. When they're ready to step into my peripheral, I will introduce them. So when they step into my peripheral, they stay kind of standing right beside me, and I don't need to turn my head to look at them because I can see them in my mind's eye, but I know they're standing beside me, and they look at the person in front of me. They look at the person that they're here, that they're connected to, and they look at them the entire time. Um, and then from there, they're using my psychic abilities, my language of intuition, to be able to impress whatever it is. And then I'm interpreting, and then I'm delivering. I encourage questions. I also encourage questions, for my process, but I also encourage, obviously, questions for their loved ones in spirit. I allow people to record. I allow people to write. I allow people to do whatever they need to do, because it's not about me. It's about them. And I know I'm safe. I know my boundaries, and I've been doing it my whole entire life. And I know that this has nothing to do with Tracy and everything to do with the purpose and the service. And so I'm here for them, and I'm here for the spirit realm. So it usually ends with hugs. People will usually ask to hug. And I know that they want to ask, but they might be too embarrassed or shy. So I'll just say, "Do you want a hug?" And usually it's a very sweet exchange and share of a mutual kind of shared experience and love on a level that not many people get to experience. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
and
guess
then
if it's
usually
Zoom, it's a
people.
virtual hug, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm so,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm so used to seeing people in person that that's kind of the process that I was thinking about when I was visualizing it in my head of what I'd go through.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so that's the
But
process.
is a part of your thing is also encouraging people to go away and believe in their own inner psychic, their own inner medium, to have that ability themselves
Well,
to empower them?
not not necessarily the mediumship aspect because it can be dangerous. Like it's a little bit irresponsible if I you know, say to people go do this and this and this when they don't have the awareness of being able to protect their
Shut
energy and to
down,
cleanse it and to
put
ground it.
boundaries up. I understand that, but to just sort
Yeah.
of to that they, I mean, I'm very conscious of people becoming dependent on psychics and
Or
mediums. That's something I don't doesn't sit well for me. I do understand going to a psychic and medium for help and a launching pad, but I'm very much about empowering people to make their own decisions. I mean, is that part of your reading as well?
absolutely. And I don't say anything, but an, very, very often people will say, how soon is too soon to come back? My answer is pretty
Mm.
standard. I don't want to see you again until you have done everything that they have given you, all the guidance they've given you. I don't want to see you until it's all come round and come into manifestation, come into reality. I don't want to see you again. Minimum 6 months, ideally once a year, unless something major happens. If you have something huge in your life occur, and you feel that you want guidance to help you and assist you and empower you through it, then I'm here for you. But but I don't want to see people regularly. I don't want to. It actually feels disrespectful for both parties and for my own time, if that makes sense. So I feel like if you're going to consult spirit and you're not going to do if you're not going to act on the guidance and receive the guidance that they're giving you, then why keep coming back for more? Spirit's not here to be
Oh,
abused.
that is beautiful. As I say, music to my ears. This is lovely. And I'm conscious because it keeps cutting out, but I think we've got the recording your end, Tracy, and this is such golden material you're sharing. I just want to snatch this recording so that it doesn't disappear. But I must just quickly ask you to, first of all, the important thing is people who've heard you and been touched, which I know they will be, and want to maybe reach out to you, not necessarily for a reading, but just to find out more about you, listen to your amazing podcast, read your books, just find out about with you and connect with you further. Because you're well known in Australia, but I'm aware White Shores has listeners all over the world. But of course, today you don't have to be in person in Australia to connect with Tracy. You can do it virtually. Could you just give the best way to connect with you?
Sure, it's just my website. So everything's on there and it's just tracydimec.com.au.
And that's Dimech, Dimech.
Yes, and Tracy
And
with a
Tracy,
DY.
so TRACEYDIMECH
.com.au.
.com. I'm confusing it. .com. I put it in the show notes, people, because I
Thank
really,
you.
I love with White Shores. I always want in every episode for people to have something new and exciting and a wonderful, authentic, healing presence to connect with, and who can also, show them new possibilities. So thank you so much for doing that, Tracy. I'm really glad we've got this connection going now. I really am. But before you go, just a couple of questions. I terrorize each guest on White Shores: scientists, psychologists, authors, experts, healers, psychics, mediums, whoever they are, experiencers. I ask these questions, and I love comparing the answers. It's entertaining. But the first one is going
Oh
to be easy
no.
for you. Can you give me a dream that you've had, a recent dream or any dream really that you have felt was really significant? I'm talking about nighttime dreams because I'm most well known, I guess, as a dream decoding author.
Sure. So, I had a dream that was terrifying, and it was a dream where I was in a car, and this was recent, and I was in the driver's seat, but I wasn't driving the car, but I was in the driver's seat, and the car was going up this really, really, really steep mountain, and we got to the top, and it was nighttime. We got to the top of the mountain, and all of a sudden the car just started to fall backwards really, really fast, like it was going to fall to the bottom. And I saw trees and everything flying past me. It was flying backwards, and I turned around and I saw one of my children in the back seat of the car, but he was really young in the dream. And I reached over and I put my hand on his leg and I squeezed it as if to let him know that it's going to be okay. And I was petrified, thinking we're going to hit the ground. And then I woke up like as what I would assume would be hitting the ground, but I woke up just going and because it was kind of this shock to the system that, oh my god, like I have just died, or I have just fallen to the ground and I don't know what happened. And so it really, really rattled me. So that's a dream.
Oh, I mean, for me, vehicles like direction in life. And of course, it's challenging what you do, the uphill struggle. And you mentioned that your son may well be psychic like that, and he may well be frightened of this journey. And you're kind of saying, look, it's okay. This is the way forward. That's
Mm.
how I see it. So fantastic. Another very quick question. Astrology is exploding at the moment, especially since COVID. People have been so interested in these ancient processes that, that can help us. I look at it more astrology as a psychological self-help tool to know yourself better.
Mm.
Would you mind sharing what your sun sign is, and are you true to your sign?
Teresa, I have never been more true. And I will tell you something interesting. I am a triple Gemini.
Oh, love it. My goodness, when you get the triple threat like
And,
that, when you what it's like sun, rising, and
uh
moon.
huh.
Wow, you
And
are
born on the second,
all the amazing
too.
communication, of course, is the key with Gemini, and you are
Hmm.
taking communication to an extraordinary level.
Hmm. Yep.
You're pushing the boundaries of communication. This life, I'm going to next life. I
Yep.
love it.
Hmm.
Couldn't get a more, oh, fantastic. And then the final question is this song, The 12 Days of Christmas, or Spirit, as this is a non-religious podcast, it's a spiritual one. Do you know the song Partridge in a Pear Tree, Turtle Doves, French Hens, Calling Birds, that one? Five gold rings, six
Yes.
geese are laying, you know, I can go through the sim. Is there one symbol of those 12 that particularly resonates with you, and why?
Oh, hang on a second. What are they? On the first day of
Partridge, turtle
Christmas, we're
doves,
joking.
French hens, calling birds, gold rings, geese, swans, maids are milking, ladies dancing, lords are leaping, pipers piping, drummers drumming. I just would love you to choose
Oh,
what would you want your true love to give to you as a present, and why?
oh gosh.
Because it's
Well,
got this symbolic meaning behind
the
it.
ring.
I
Can I
I
have
am getting
two? Can I have
No,
two?
that's you're a psychic and a medium. Look, that's enough. No, you're gonna have to choose one. Just go for what does your gut say of all those days? Because I'm
Rings.
trying to the rings, the golden rings, of course, as we are White Shores, which was inspired by my love of Lord of the Rings. Well done.
Oh gosh.
I think jewelry. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure we'd all want all those birds flapping around our gardening and the lords
I
and
don't like
ladies.
birds.
I'm still appealing for one of my guests in this season to claim the maids are milking. I'm still waiting,
Good
and the
luck.
French hens also for some reason. Um, you know, the rings are popular, and all the dancing and activity, and of course the turtle doves and the calling birds, and the swans. But the maids, the geese, and the hens. I'm just waiting for one of the guests to share. But if you do know, I mean, what the meaning of that, why we sing it, in the festive time of year at Christmas. There has to be deep ancient pagan roots to that song. There has to be
Absolutely.
some more
Um,
meaning, and I'm asking my listeners to help me so that by the end of the podcast we all know what we're singing and why.
well, one of my podcasts is turns out she's a witch. And so what I
Oh,
might do is get our resident witch onto that, and I might see if we can figure that out.
please enlighten me, because I have no idea what it's about. I mean, it is a religious song, but it's also, I'm sure, has got ancient roots, really ancient roots, and it's associated with Christmas. And I want to know why. I want to know.
Hmm. I'm going to go to bed
But
thinking about that now.
thank you
Thanks,
for
Theresa.
humouring me there, Tracy. I truly appreciate it, and I'm just so delighted now. I can't wait. Don't take this wrong. I can't wait to hit stop recording, because that means I've got it. Because as long as I haven't hit stop recording, it could
Yay.
vanish. So I'm going to hastily say, I love this connection we've got, and I hope it continues, and I hope you come again and talk again on White Shores and share more. And thank you for all you are and all you do. We need people like you bringing compassion, connection, healing, and a bit of mystery and magic into our lives. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you, Theresa. Honestly, what a light you are. And I feel so blessed to be able to share it and to be in it and to witness
Okay,
it.
I'm going to cut you now because I get. I'm going to stop the recording. I want it. I mean, part of me wants to savor this. It's lovely when people say nice things, but I'm going to have to, just for the sake of my listeners now, stop the recording.
Okay.
Thank you from my heart and soul for being here and walking beside me in spirit on White Shores. Sensitive, kind, compassionate souls like you who see beyond the material are needed more than ever today to help this earth heal and evolve. If you have any questions, stories, or insights to share, I absolutely love hearing from you and aim to reply to everyone in due course. My website is www.theresachung.com. My contact email is angeltalk710@aol.com, and you can message me via my Instagram handle, The Theresa Cheung, as well as my Facebook and Twitter author pages. Until we meet again on these white shores, keep being amazing spiritual you, sending my eternal love and gratitude.